Well, Betty, we've talked about some things now that have to do with the foundation of the AFP in Canada and who the original movers and shakers were. But I think we now need to get down to the actual business of the AFP. And certainly one of the most important things that you've done is to put into the hands of the average person resources, things that they can use either in their own prayer life or in learning about prayer or teaching about prayer and so on. All of these things are very, very practical. Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Well, we inherited from the originals from a lot that went on in Florida, where Harry and Emily were developing them.
Okay.
And they were particularly trained in education and so forth. They had some, at that time, tapes which were written by marvelous speakers on prayer and
Yes.
marvelous prayers. So from them, though, as we did things, we would see that that would be worth reproducing. For instance, Grace Mills at her home had a little quiet day. It saved heating the church, for one thing, and that's important to a lot of little churches. She would have a communion. Someone there took communion, and then after that we might talk for a little bit, and then she would invite us to take something from that message and take it off into some other part in the house. She had each bedroom set up with a big chair, and you probably took your own books in there, and you were there maybe half an hour or more to just to be by yourself and pray and do whatever. So I thought that was so good, I called it a day of prayer, and I made a little folder just with Grace's itinerary on it, you know, and her little plan. So that's all that one was.
A little home quiet day.
A home quiet day that anybody could do that wanted to. So they were very simple, but I think they were still good. Then things like the Emmaus Walk, a lot of people love to walk, and for them that's a good time to pray. So that was practical, and I think kits to set up prayer chains. We did that a lot when, especially when there was a special need for prayer. You needed a chain to follow through on. And then got into a little bit heavier when one morning after my own personal quiet time, I said, well, Lord, that was a great quiet day our executive had yesterday. So what did you want me to take from David Lemon's address? And often I prayed this way, not knowing what would happen, but the word alongside her popped out, and I can't remember just why that popped out, but it did. And then somehow I saw people who were shut in our churches, never got to church anymore. Maybe we could make them more part of the church by having a little program where we would ask them to pray for us, we would pray for them, and so forth. So that went on. Canon David Lemon, as I might say, gave that day, and I've told him how much that has grown. A lady in our church used to work in a glove factory, so she was the one that made, I think, 500 of these red folders, beautifully sewn with pockets on two sides, and then some would have Bible study things, some would have things about prayer and so forth, but things you could have in your hospital bed if you were in hospital or close by, and it was washable. So that was a wonderful thing, and since then I'm sure there have been a couple of thousand and more of those used. Even the Mission to Seamen used those. I got a letter from down east, and they wanted it for the seamen down on the Atlantic seaboard. So, and I heard too that prisoners had used them. So that was a nice thing for me to hear about.
Well, it's nice to know. I mean, you know, various churches have people who bring communion to shut-ins, and they visit with shut-ins. They bring altar flowers to shut-ins. but it always makes it seem as if the flow is naturally from the church out to these people who can no longer appear. But without something like Alongsiders, I think we're in danger of forgetting
We
that
are.
those people have something to contribute.
They sure
They may not be able to get out, but they can use those materials and make a very practical contribution to the church they are still a part of. So all of these things that you've talked about.
Well, there was even a chart for that, that you could put the person's name, the nursing home they were in, so that that would be on the parish hall wall. And you may say, well, Mary Rose, who used to be here, oh, here she is, and she's in such and such a home. Because otherwise you can lose track of
Sure.
the busyness of church life.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Just the river flows in both directions
It
at
does.
once, somehow or another.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's very helpful. Thank you very much for that, Betty.